My husband is thinking about fostering his nephews, and I don't want to. This story came March 31st, 2026. I know I sound like such a biatch. My husband and I have always maintained a child-free life. I don't like kids terribly, and he was one of the oldest of 9 and raised his siblings. He loves kids, but he is done raising them. So, he said. He studied child psychology and works with kids who have experienced trauma. He specializes in SPED, but he comes home from work every day, exhausted, talking about how glad he is that he just gets to relax with me. His sister is an addict. She has been in and out of rehab, never stayed clean. She has 2 sons, a 4-year-old and an infant. The oldest has been in and out of foster care, and the baby has been in the system since he was born. The 4-year-old has recently been removed from her custody. My husband was contacted and asked if he wanted to foster them. He said yes immediately, and we've got a effing home check on Wednesday and Thursday. I feel all kinds of ways about it. I tried to talk to him, and he said that it would be hard, but he can't in good conscience let them rot in the system. He knows what he's doing with traumatized kids and knows how the system makes things so much worse. I am so angry. This is my life too. He said it's not forever, but I know him and I know he won't let them go anywhere that he doesn't 1000% approve of. He has never fostered any other kids. He's made jokes about how awful it is to be a foster parent because they try their best and get their crap ruined by kids who can't exist in their own minds. He knows this life inside and out. Why is it different just because they're related to him? I know I sound awful, but we don't know these kids. We've never even met them. I don't understand why he feels so righteous for saving these kids. If they weren't related to him, he wouldn't give a flying. I know we won't survive. I can't even cope with a cat. I had a breakdown when we had one. We had to get rid of her because I couldn't cope. And he expects me to just live with 2 kids? I don't want our life together to be over. I'm so angry at him, and I feel awful for being angry that he's improving lives. Ugh, that's a lot. We're gonna see what the people of Reddit are saying so far. But also, chime in the comments. Someone commented and said, I guess you don't have a good family or empathy for small children. OP said, I feel the same way about family I know versus family I don't. What separates these kids from random kids? Why foster these kids if he wouldn't have ever fostered a stranger's kid? I was adopted, so maybe my view of blood relation is warped that way, but blood doesn't change anything in this situation. Next person said, if you have a breakdown over a cat, maybe you shouldn't be in a relationship. OP said, we've been married for 6 years, together for almost 15. I just don't enjoy little life forms clinging to me and screaming at me and injuring me when I'm trying to relax after work. And then OP explains more about her background and preferences. She wrote, I am autistic. I've been to therapy and I've been medicated. I prefer to live my life the way that I am. My house is my safe space where I can untether myself and exist without constraints. If I suddenly had to deal with kids here, I would lose my mind. I know parents do not choose to be miserable. A lot of parents love their kids, even though there are miserable parts. My mom says her favorite part of parenting me as a kid was helping me through meltdowns and tantrums, which is true. I remember her being amazing and sweet through it all. Even now, she helps out at respite facilities because she likes helping people. That is my idea of hell. But my mom is a woman who was designed for motherhood. There are a lot of people like her, and I am not one of them. I didn't mean to be condescending, I was just explaining my point of view. So she was probably responding to someone. And then next, she answered a question and gave more info on her breakdown with the said cat. I have a very specific schedule with my husband. I wake up first, work the early shift, and then I come home before him so I can have a couple hours to relax before he gets home. Because I woke up first, she was under my feet constantly. I fed her, but then she would eat and put her feet in my coffee, scream at me, jump into my breakfast. The vet told me to play with her, so I did, but that didn't help. That was okay, but then when I got home, because she had been alone for so long that day, she was so clingy. She would jump all over me, scream, scratch. I coped until I could not anymore, which was like 3 months. I know they say it takes time to settle, but she just kept getting worse. I think she was too lonely for us, so we gave her to my friend. She's a much happier cat now, and I still see her regularly. I have my rabbits and a fish. She used to attack them, which definitely didn't help me cope with her at all. The cat was supposed to be separated from the rabbits and fish, which she was, but because she was so clingy, it was hard to get into rooms without her also getting in. We weighed up pros and cons for months in regards to the cat. My husband doesn't really care for my rabbits and he wanted a pet. She was supposed to be his. I just ended up dealing with her because she became clingy to me. We met her several times over the course of a month. I had my breakdown 3 months in. We continued to try for a month, but we couldn't. She is now happier and calmed down instantly. Every cat is so different. My sister had a cat, and when her and I lived together in an apartment, her cat came with us. And he's the most chill cat I've ever met. He now lives with my dad and my stepmom, and he is so chill. He'll snuggle with you if you want to snuggle, but he will also he's an independent king over there. He's chill. He's like, well, I'm not even a cat person. I like them, but I prefer dogs. But he's a cat where I'm like, I could have a cat like that. We would vibe well, you know? But as we know, nothing will ever compare to our Lila girl. So, and she doesn't like sharing the spotlight with anybody. Next comment, where are his other siblings? By the way, you're right. He should have discussed it with you before making such a huge decision. That changes both of your lives. It's time to separate. OP said they already have kids mostly, and a couple live way out of state. Next comment, I understand the kids have been in foster care a lot, just wondering if you interact with his other nieces and nephew. And what was the reason you never met these kids before, other than foster care? Or are you child-free and not even a good auntie? OP said, we see our nieces and nephews regularly. We never met these two because my husband has no contact with his sister, who is the addict. There's a lot of comments. People got a lot of questions, and honestly, I am fine to read them because it only gives us more information. Next comment. I'm wondering if your husband chose you because of your issues. Not the child-free part. You're certainly allowed to have that choice. But the part where you claim to have had a nervous breakdown trying to take care of a cat. That's ridiculously over-the-top language to use, and it makes you sound overly dramatic. It doesn't take much to get to know a literal infant. OP said, probably. He likes helping people. We met because I was put in Gen Ed as a trial program, and they set him up to be my buddy for the first week. He has been obsessed with me ever since. Next comment, how old are you guys? She said, we are 29. And then last comment, she gave some more details about her struggle as an autistic person. She wrote, as an autistic person, you should know that we are all different. I don't mind dirty or messy or stinky. I have rabbits. They are so gross. I love them so much. I also have fish who don't smell as such, but they are effortful. My house is the place I get to recover from life. Everything is where it's supposed to be. I get to come home from work, have a snack, and lie in a dark room for 2 hours with my fish. I couldn't even do that with a cat. How am I supposed to do that with kids? Kids are loud, they mess things up, they never give you alone time. Babies wake up all night. I'd probably have to get rid of my room so they could have a bedroom, so I wouldn't even have a place to detox. I don't like speaking when I get home. Kids don't understand sign language. I could teach them, but it would take time and I would get frustrated. I've worked so hard to be somewhat functional, and kids would mess that all up. The way I exist works for me. I've come a long way since I was a child. There's not much more growing I can do. I'm on the brink of a meltdown almost constantly. Therapy made me worse, so I'm just coping. These are my strategies to not be a drain on society. I do not avoid anything in my daily life. I just need a safe space, and that space is my home. My husband is a child psychologist. I know how children develop, and even good children raised well from birth with no disabilities or behavioral concerns would be too much for me on a day-to-day. In order for me to survive with kids, not even being a good parent, just not losing it on them, I would have to quit my job and move back in with my mom and just come home periodically. I don't want that. I like being independent. I love my parents, but I'll always be that profoundly autistic little girl to them. And when I'm with them, my behavior reverts. It's going to happen anyway. My husband wants the boys and I could never stop him. Until I get my own place, I'd have to go back to my parents. But if I'm back there, I'll just end up dependent again and then I'll probably never move out and boom, life is over. I'd probably be happier, but I don't want to rely on them. When they pass away, it'll be too much harder for me to exist. There really is a lot to think about here in this decision. We're gonna move on to our first update. It came 2 days later. It's now April 2nd, 2026. This morning I showed my post to my husband. He said he read it, but then we had the social worker over and things were kind of insane. The social worker ended up telling us that we didn't pass a home inspection. We have a list of things we need to change and we have another inspection booked for next week. Unfortunately, one of the concerns the social worker had was my pets. I have free range rabbits and several fish tanks, which pose several different risks. The fish tanks are able to be pulled from shelves. A child could fall into my big one, and there are a lot of wires that are very grabbable. The rabbits are just bite risks and they poop all over. Obviously, I clean up after them, but if a child were to put a dropping in their mouth, that would not be great. No, it wouldn't. I sat down with my husband after she left. I laid my feelings out and my new concerns in regard to my animals. I can move my fish tanks to a locked room, my office, but my rabbits are still free roam. Not to mention my rabbits' room, where they go at night, or my office will be needed as a bedroom. So either my fish or my rabbits have to go because they can't be in the same room. I was upset, but I understand more now why he feels the need to take the boys in. Everyone who said they are a connection to his sister was right. We both cried. We love each other, but we don't see a way to make this work. He feels strongly about saving them. We both know I could never cope with them. I don't want to have to pick between my rabbits and my fish. I called my parents. They have said I can move back home if I need to. I'm unhappy with it as they are very overbearing and all independence I've worked hard to develop will essentially be gone. But beggars can't be choosers and I'm not getting a divorce, so that's a win. Nothing is set in stone. We're going to see how the inspection and things work out first, but this is probably what's going to happen. To everyone who asked me how he was going to manage them all, he said his other sister is happy to help while working. She just couldn't foster them because she doesn't have enough space, which is true. She has 6 kids in 1 bedroom already. Is that legal? 6 children in 1 bedroom? You got 3 bunk beds in there? How does it fit? 6 kids in 1 bedroom. Damn. You know what? None of my business. I have a feeling people are going to have a lot to say with this plan and with this update, so let's see what they're saying now. Someone said, "Why are you giving him the house? Tell him it's on. Court. You are entitled to a minimum of half of that place. Grow a spine and get a lawyer." I told you. I just knew people were gonna have something to say. OP said, "We are not divorcing, just living separately for the time being, and it's his house anyway." Next comment. Are you aware that moving out may also be seen as a negative to the social worker since it's reducing it now to 1-parent household instead of the stable 2-parent household? Is your husband aware that any care for them by non-household adults, even family members, would need to be approved? And if his other sister already has 6 kids in 1 bedroom, she's unlikely to be approved due to space and safety for even occasional care, and may have an investigation open for her too in the process due to inadequate living conditions for her own kids. I was wondering, genuinely, because I don't know how that works. OP said yes, but these are our circumstances. It will either work or it won't. Sister-in-law has contacted CPS herself for help with housing. They know her situation. Next comment. This already seems like progress from the original post. I really hope you two can figure everything out. As a side note, people have rabbits and fish and children coexist in a household. I'm not saying it's the right fit for you, but it is possible if you decide to go that route. OP said, I honestly don't think my animals would be an issue, but CPS don't want them in my house. So my rabbits are terrible. They can't share a room with the fish at all. Next comment. A third option is to move houses, not move out. Do what you have to do for now, but intentionally move to a house where this is more viable. Number 1, rabbits pooping all over the house is not free range, nor is it sanitary for adults. They don't really eat meat, so it's not terrible, but it's definitely not good. Number 2, some houses have elevated recesses for TVs, etc. That could be safety house for fish tanks. And number 3, if you insist on the rabbits roaming free, semi-permanent baby gates exist that cannot be readily breached by a child or a bunny. OP responded to that and said, moving out is for me as well as the animals. I won't be able to cope without decent alone time. One rabbit is litter trained, the other one just doesn't care. I've tried, but it hasn't worked, so I follow him around with a little poop bag when he's exploring. Fish tanks need to be locked away, ideally, as I don't want to secure them to a wall. I can't use baby gates because the rabbits chew them. Nothing's working together. Every suggestion is not happening for her. Next comment, what kind of family did your husband come from? None of them seem to have adult coping skills. Well, except for your husband, though he doesn't seem to have a full grasp on what it takes to raise troubled children. Ooh, okay, judgmental. That's a bold statement. OP said he's a child psychologist who specializes in SPED and foster kids unintentionally. His family is mostly dysfunctional though. Okay, dysfunctional, sure. Adult coping skills? I don't know, maybe I don't even know what that means. Maybe I don't even have them. Next comment, during the home inspection, did anyone ask or did you voice your reluctance to be a foster parent? That should be a priority to those who decide. OP said, I wasn't speaking at the time. My husband explained it to the social worker and they said my interview would be held at a later date with an interpreter on standby. I'm not sure why I couldn't just type, but that's what they said. We have more updates for this story, don't you worry. But first, we're gonna drink some water. Cheers. I'm very overwhelmed right now, you guys. Good news though, it's all good news. So remember I auditioned for that TV series for 3 different roles? Well, that same casting director brought me in for a completely different TV series, a principal role in one of the episodes. So that's big news for me. But it came in late last night and I only have today to work on it. So I've been very overwhelmed. I just got off an hour-long session with my acting coach to work through it because I want to give this my best take, obviously, to hopefully get it. So I'm feeling a little overwhelmed right now. By the time you see this, the audition will already be done, but I will update you. All right, the next update came the next day. We are at April 3rd. So she made a brand new post seeking some new advice. And she said, I'm not very good with words, but I'm hoping my post will help explain. I don't really know what flair to use. I am autistic and I was diagnosed profound as a child, 4 years old in 2001. There have been some debates about whether that's true or not. I now sit at a level 2 with level 3 traits. I've worked really hard to be where I am. My husband has been one of my main supporters since we were kids and has always supported me in my independence. I rely on strict routines to remain functional. And then she went on to explain again, my husband's sister lost custody and he's taking the kids in. Because of this, I'm having to move out and move back in with my parents. It's very stressful and overwhelming in itself, but my parents aren't as big on me being independent. It will make things harder for me in the long term. My husband is doing a good thing, so I'm happy for him, but this is still very scary to me. I'm not sure what she's asking for advice in this point. I think she might just be explaining. But she did answer some questions. Someone asked, ooh, can you build a granny flat for you to live in or convert the basement to a separate living space? Then your husband and the children live in the main house. You are close enough to maintain your relationship and support each other while having a calm space with no interruptions to your routine. I am only ADHD, but suspect AUDHD. I thought my coping strategies were strong enough and chose to have one child, but my child has messed with my regulating routines and I completely understand why you can't live with children. Okay, so that post might get more of her community in there to give some advice from their own experience. Oh, how lovely. Not a bad idea if you can afford to build something. She responded and said, we talked about it, but decided it would probably still be best if I stay with my parents just because he doesn't know how much time he'll have to help me, especially considering the fact that I will probably have more meltdowns with the change. Next comment. If my significant other was in agreement for 20 years that we would remain child-free for our lives together, and then suddenly told me that I have to uproot my entire life, move my animals, and essentially be forced to agree to separate in my my marriage for children that I've never met, I would not be handling things as well as you are. Well, there's a perspective. OP said, we've only known each other for 23 years. We only discussed not having kids maybe 10 years ago. But thank you. I had my little meltdown about it when he first told me, but I think my inability to process emotions well helped me. Not really sure because it definitely sucked. I'm very curious what everyone thinks about the situation. I feel like we could offer so many things, but ultimately she is going and has to do what's best for her. It sounds like the only thing she's comfortable with is moving back home with her parents, but maybe this won't even happen, you know? Maybe with all the inspections and this, like, who knows if it will even come to, I don't know. I'm not qualified. I said it. I'm not qualified for this. Let me know your thoughts and feelings. See you in the comment section. Stay classy out there. Stay safe.